How can Chicharito at 31 years old, how can Chicharito at 31 years old be joining the MLS? He is retiring. Alright, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back to VMFC. Thank you all for joining me yet another week. My name is Alex Pérez, and wow, it's been a very complicated few hours for us here in the States and for sports fans around the world. Of course, the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, and of course the people that were joining him in that helicopter. Just absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating from everyone here at Veterans Minimum. We wish the families nothing but the best prayers for them, of course, because they need it. This is tough. This is very tough. We lost a legend. We lost Kobe Bryant physically, because obviously his legend, his status is still there. And I will give him his respect, his due respect, at the end of this show, because we do have business to take care of. But I thought it was almost mandatory to mention it right now at the beginning of this show, even though this isn't a basketball show or anything like that. But if you're a soccer fan, you know Kobe Bryant had a bit of an influence on soccer, period, and a lot of stuff that he created was influenced by soccer. So there was definitely ties between Kobe Bryant and our beautiful game. But again, we have business to take care of, and we will talk about Kobe at the end of this show. First and foremost, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Well, I almost choked up there. What the hell's going on? At Veterans Minimum. You can like the Facebook page as well, facebook.com/Veterans Minimum, or in your search bar, you can just look us up as Veterans Minimum Show. On YouTube, if you're watching this video, it is very likely that you are watching this on YouTube. Where else are you going to be watching it? YouTube.com/Veterans Minimum. Subscribe. It goes a long way. And speaking of going a long way, if you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, man, you're going to get so much good stuff, because the podcast is popping. It's Super Bowl week. There's probably going to be some more Kobe Bryant tributes somehow, some way throughout this entire week and in the weeks to come. So definitely subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, BlueWirePods.com, and on Patreon. If you want to support Veterans Minimum, Patreon.com/Veterans Minimum. All you have to do is pledge $1 a month. That's it. Just $1. Just one. You will get exclusive content. You will get merch, early releases, and much, much more. All right. Let's get to business, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. I'd be lying if I said that José Mourinho wasn't one of my favorite managers of all time. I do get a lot of inspiration from him because of the simple fact that he was never a professional player. And if he was, he just never did it at a high level. So he never played in the elite of soccer. So that made him becoming a manager mean a little bit more. And it showed that you definitely don't have to play the game to understand it. And he understands it very well. But as you all know, José Mourinho took a year off from managing for whatever reason. I guess he just needed some time off. He needed to reinvent himself. And he was on TV. He was an analyst. He did, a lot of appearances, interviews. And he seemed a lot happier. We saw something from José Mourinho that we had never seen, and that was a smile. He was smiling. He was happy. He was joking. He seems like a pretty cool dude, actually, to be completely honest. He seems like a cool dude. Excuse me. But there came a time where we're like, all right, Jose, are you going to manage, or are you just going to be in front of a camera now? What are you going to do? And then finally, in November of this past year, José Mourinho was appointed as manager of Tottenham Hotspur, which at the time was like controversial. Right now, it's very controversial. It's not just kind of like controversial. It's very controversial. José Mourinho was appointed after Mauricio Pochettino was sacked after, I believe it might have been a Champions League game or a Premier League game, it was probably during the international break. Regardless, Mauricio Pochettino was sacked. In came Jose. And Jose, for whatever reason, he seemed even more gracious. He seemed even more happy. He was talking very well about Mauricio Pochettino. The first question that they asked him in that press conference that he gave after his first training session as Tottenham Hotspur manager, it was like, you know what? I'm not here to change much. I respect what Pochettino did. I am very happy for him. I wish him nothing but the best. And he was just talking about him very well. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. He usually talks bad about all of his opponents. But anyway, José Mourinho, the new one. Not so much the special one. The new one. The reinvented one. Or so we thought. Because those first few games, his teams were scoring a lot. His teams were fun to watch. So not only did his personality shift a little bit, but his tactics changed. If you guys are aware of who José Mourinho is as a manager, he's a very defensive manager. He prioritizes the defensive side of the game a little bit more than the attacking side. And that's something that a lot of people aren't too keen on. They don't really like it, whatever. That's his style. Not so much these first couple of games. And then things started going sour very quickly. That has to be the shortest honeymoon phase I have ever seen in my entire life. Because this thing lasted like 2 weeks. Usually the honeymoon phase, like with Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, was like 2 or 3 months. So that was pretty cool. He lasted. Not Mourinho. I mean, Mourinho, Jesus, he it only took a couple of weeks, and suddenly José Mourinho, the old José Mourinho, was back. The old José Mourinho was back. We thought that he would never come back because he finally had Harry Kane to manage. Harry Kane, a guy that he wanted to coach for a long time. I think it was like 3 consecutive transfer windows that José Mourinho asked for Harry Kane to join Manchester United, and Harry Kane said no. So he finally had him. And it looked like he was going to be happy, but no. It just, it didn't happen. Mourinho just went back to his old ways. He went back to his old ways. The dark bags under his eyes came back. He became grumpy again. He was complaining about everything. The ball flies around. It's like a beach ball. He complains about the length of the grass, and he complains about the stupid managers that he's facing, and he complains about the weather, and he complains about this and inflation and that. Complain. And then he started picking. He picked his one player that he wants to bully now, and that player is Tanguy Ndombele. He arrived at Tottenham this past summer, and he might be on his way out. I mean, who knows? Who knows how that relationship gets? But he picked on him because he's never healthy. He's like, oh, well, if this guy's never healthy, this guy's always injured. How can I count on him? Dude, don't do that. I mean, seriously, it's terrible. He puts his own guys down. What a man. What a man. If you can get titles for that, I think he'd be a multiple-time champion at bullying his own players. And then, of course, those habits came back and the tactics came back. And Tottenham fans were not happy at all. Tottenham fans are not used to seeing their team drop back so much. And the players, you talk about the fans, the players, the guys who are actually executing the game plan that Mourinho puts forth, they're like, man, this is boring. Well, we don't want to play like this. We want to attack. I'm pretty sure the fullbacks are like, come on. Can you just let us cross the midfield, please? They're not even excited to go to training. There's a lot of reports. Actually, The Sun, their news outlet in England, they reported that a lot of the players are very, very upset with the training sessions because they say that they are very underwhelming and very boring. That's what everyone said about his training sessions with Manchester United at the end of his run there, and at Chelsea, and at Real Madrid. things just grow stale quickly with Jose Mourinho. So it looks like maybe he didn't change much. But I was still kind of hopeful. Even a couple of weeks ago, I was still kind of hopeful. You know what? Maybe this is just people that want to talk bad about Jose, people that want Jose to fail. This was the Jose Mourinho fan in me. But then I sat down and watched Tottenham against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. And I saw how pathetic Tottenham looked in the first half. And I was like, oh boy. Did I really fall for this? I felt so stupid. I'm like, I fell for this. I really fell for this. I really thought that Jose Mourinho was a different man and a different manager. And he's not. Same person. I felt so dumb. And that's when I'm like, you cheeky guy. You fooled me and you fooled everyone. I felt terrible. We really thought that you had changed, and he didn't. And now his team, this past weekend, tied against Southampton in the FA Cup, a near relegation team in the Premier League. They tied against them, and now they have to play a replay, which I'm pretty sure Jose Mourinho is already complaining about, or he complained about already. So his team's not playing good. Honeymoon phase is over. What's next for Tottenham? Are they going to keep Jose? Is he going to go? How long is the contract? Is Christian Eriksen leaving? That's been such a big piece of news as well within these. Well, it's been a big piece of news since the beginning of the season. He was supposed to leave. He was going to go to Real Madrid. And, Paul Pogba was supposed to go to Real Madrid too, but that's a different story. And now Christian Eriksen's going to Inter. And Jose Mourinho's like, can you just leave already? You're bringing in too much bad attention. So there's just too much going on at Tottenham right now. And having a guy like Jose Mourinho, who he himself brings in bad attention, is probably not the best choice. Just being completely honest, putting my fandom aside, my admiration for him aside. He's probably just not a good fit for Tottenham. Doesn't look like it. At least right now, it doesn't look like it. Look at the fixtures. 3 of the fixtures that Tottenham has coming up next month. February 2nd, they play against Manchester City in the Premier League. And then the 19th, they play against RB Leipzig. And then they play against Chelsea a couple days later. These are heavy fixtures. Can you imagine if Tottenham loses those 3 games? Jose Mourinho is going to be in the hot seat. Jose Mourinho is probably going to be out of a job by May. And that sucks. That sucks. But to be fair to Jose Mourinho, he doesn't really have much depth with this team. He doesn't even have a striker. Harry Kane got hurt, and God knows how long he's going to be out for. Harry Kane, as much as I love him, he's injured at this time of the year. Every year. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong. Why is he always injured like in January and March or whatever? He's always hurt. They don't have a striker. Gareth Bale's probably not joining. Steven Bergwijn from PSV Eindhoven, he's probably not joining. So, what does this mean? To me, it means that Jose Mourinho's time at Tottenham is probably going to end very ugly. And if his time at Tottenham ends ugly, then this just means that Jose Mourinho might have burned his last bridge. No pun intended, because he managed at Stamford Bridge for a long time. He might have burned his last bridge towards a big team. This might be his last big gig. If everything fails, if it turns, worst case scenario, this might be Jose Mourinho's last big gig. He's probably going to have to go back to his country and coach there. Because again, at this rate, Mourinho's time could end ugly, not only for him, but for Tottenham. Because knowing Jose and his agents, I'm pretty sure that if Tottenham tries to terminate the contract ahead of time, they're going to have to pay a hefty fee. Get your stuff together, Tottenham, because this has the makings of ending very ugly. This past week, the Mexican striker, the all-time leading scorer of the Mexican national team, Javier Hernandez, a.k.a. Chicharito, joined LA Galaxy for a hefty fee, a very hefty fee. He's 31 years old, and it looked like his time was running out in Europe. He wasn't really getting many minutes with Sevilla. He had left West Ham because apparently the wages were too high for West Ham to pay. And the team before that, Bayer Leverkusen, they just let him go because the coach is like, you know what, this guy's maybe, he's not that good. And he charges a lot of money to play, so we don't want him. And Chicharito decided to join Galaxy for a good amount of money. And it's pretty obvious because, I mean, who wouldn't want to win dollars? Earn dollars, of course. I mean, earning euros isn't that bad either, but earning dollars is probably a good thing too, I would say. But the highlight of all of this, the highlight of his transfer from Sevilla to LA Galaxy wasn't necessarily that he actually transferred over here to the MLS. There was a video that surfaced last week where he was on a phone call with his parents, and he told his parents, this isn't an exact quote, so don't quote me. This is just an excerpt of the video, pretty much. He said that this is the beginning of the end. He said that is the beginning of his retirement. Moving to the MLS is the beginning of his retirement. And the Mexican media, oh my goodness, they made a storm. They created a storm out of this. If you guys aren't familiar with the Mexican media, they're not very easy to deal with, all right? Putting it very nicely, because I'm not going to get too into it. But they're not very nice to deal with. They're very tough. They're you say one thing, they ask you, "Well, that's what you meant?" And it's something completely different, and yeah. So they just try to twist your words a lot. That's how the Mexican media is. Not all of them, of course, but a vast majority of them are like that. They just want the headline. And actually, I think a lot of media people are like that nowadays, sadly, because they want the headline, they want the retweets, they want the likes, they want the attention. But the Mexican media tore Chicharito a new one. They tore the MLS a new one because they said that the MLS was a retirement home. Well, to be fair, they said that a long time ago. They pretty much used this to prove their point. How can Chicharito at 31 years old, how can Chicharito at 31 years old be joining the MLS? He is retiring. The MLS is a retirement league. Why do they keep doing that? It started with Carlos Vela, just a big mess. That's what they made, a big mess, like they always do. But you know what? That message, that rhetoric of the MLS is a retirement league is so outdated. It is so outdated. Clearly, those people that say that don't watch the MLS very often. And, it's not the most attractive league. I totally understand that it's not very attractive. But at least watch it. Give it a chance. Because clearly, those people that say that the MLS is a retirement league, they don't really watch it. And here's why. I have a list of players right here. I have a list of players of the stars of the MLS. And let's just take a look at their age and compare it to the age of these players that they refer to when they say retirement league. Carlos Vela. He broke the record for most goals in an MLS season. He's 30 years old. Joseph Martinez. He had the record previously. He's 26. Atuesta. He's 22. Diego Rossi is 21. Walker Zimmerman, 26. Raul Ruiz Diaz is 29. Nico Lodeiro, is 30. Gustavo Bou, 29. Jonathan Dos Santos, 29. Cristian Pavon, 24. Georgi Mihailovic, local talent from here, from the Chicagoland area, 21. How many 35-year-olds do you see? I'm not saying that there aren't any, but these are literally the best players in the league. And I even mentioned one of the youngsters that has a couple U.S. national team caps already. And you're telling me that this is a retirement league? Really? Japan is a retirement league. Because Andres Iniesta and David Villa literally went there for like a year and then retired. David Villa, he played in the MLS for a few years, was a top goal scorer, took NYCFC very far in the playoffs a few times, and then he went back to retire in Japan. Zlatan. Everyone loves to praise Zlatan. One day I'm going to talk about my take on Zlatan, and I have a feeling a lot of you are not going to like it. But I have to give him praise for this. Because he came over to the United States to play. And he played for LA Galaxy, scored a bunch of goals, went deep in the playoffs twice. And then he went back to AC Milan, went back to Europe, plays in AC Milan again. He said it from the beginning. I am not here to retire. I am here to get my level back, my confidence back, because he wasn't playing at Manchester United, if you guys recall. He wasn't playing. He comes to the MLS, gains his confidence, goes back to Europe. These people still have David Beckham and Andrea Pirlo and Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard in their minds. That's not the MLS anymore, guys. That's not it. That's not the MLS. The MLS is a bunch of youngsters that are probably not going to college. Again, that's another thing that I'll talk about later down the line. They're going directly to play in their senior teams. Here, let me just say this. The MLS isn't perfect. I know it's not perfect. I hate this March to November schedule. It is so stupid. We're not baseball. This is soccer. Okay? Football. Soccer sounds kind of ugly sometimes. But I know the weather doesn't permit it. But again, the MLS is not perfect. I understand that. But you also have to understand that the MLS is 25 years old. Some of you watching are 25 years old and don't have your life together. I don't expect to have my life together at 25 either. I mean, seriously, this league is 25 years old. You guys, some of you I hope are old enough to remember the 94 World Cup. I wasn't alive at the time. But I do know that during the 94 World Cup, the MLS did not exist. It wasn't a thing. The MLS was not a thing. And now look at what it has become. It is attracting stars from everywhere. You look at Cristian Pavon. He played for Boca Juniors. He was a starter in the World Cup 2018 for Argentina. And he decided to play here in the MLS. He has the talent to play in Europe. Why he chose the MLS, I don't know. I don't know enough about him, but he chose the MLS, and that's what I know. Probably for money. But look at how much he is providing to the league. A lot of talent. People from Argentina are watching. His fans back home are probably watching. And they might be looking at other players. It is so unfair to call the MLS a retirement league. It is unfair, of course, to the players that I just mentioned. It is unfair to the organizations who have been working tirelessly to make the MLS a world power. And it is unfair to the fans. I kind of feel attacked when someone calls the MLS a retirement league, because I mean that's my home country's league. And it's not that bad. Just give it a chance. Please. It's not that bad. Go support your local team. And take a look at how many young faces you're going to see on running around. You're going to see a lot of them. Especially if you're like an LAFC fan or something like that. Because majority of those, I think like 5 out of these players that I mentioned earlier, they play for LAFC. So there's a lot of young talent. The MLS is not a retirement league. Get that out of your brains, people. Mexican media. Get that out of your heads. The MLS is not a retirement league. The MLS is only 25 years old. And I guarantee you that if you compare the talent in 2015 with the talent right now, you're going to see that those 5 years made a massive difference. And the MLS has much more talent now than it did 5 years ago, than it did 10 years ago, than it did 15 years ago. The MLS is going in the right direction. A lot to improve, but the MLS is not a retirement league, and get that out of your heads. The MLS is going the right direction. I think it's the perfect time to honor the legacy and pay respects to one of the greatest basketball players of all time, Kobe Bryant. As you all know, he passed away on Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning Pacific time in a tragic, terrible helicopter accident. His daughter was with him and 7 other people, including, of course, the pilot. And first and foremost, this just shows us how vulnerable we are. If this man, this legend of the game, this worldwide icon, disappeared physically like that, we can too, very easily. Life is fragile. Life is vulnerable. Cherish it every single minute. But I want to talk about Kobe Bryant, not so much the basketball player, the accolades, his style, the stats and all of that. I think that's for other people to talk about. Me, I'm not much of a basketball guy myself, so I don't think I'm the appropriate person to talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is the legacy that he left. The Mamba mentality. Because Kobe Bryant left this world a mentality that everyone should adopt. If you are pursuing something, if you are passionate about something, you should dedicate yourself fully to it. And that's exactly what Kobe Bryant did. If you guys have not watched his short film called Dear Basketball, I suggest you do. If you watch it now that he's no longer here with us, it has a completely different meaning. But I do remember watching it when it first came out, and I'm like, wow, this guy was very passionate about his craft. Just find a passion and love it. Work on it every single day. Make time for it. That's essentially the Mamba mentality. No quit. All heart. That's what the Mamba mentality is. Another thing that I want to touch on for Kobe Bryant, the influence that he had on athletes of other disciplines, particularly, of course, soccer. He was friends with Ronaldinho, with Messi. Of course, he's met Luis Suarez and Gerard Piqué and Sergio Ramos and Gareth Bale and Neymar and Mbappe and all these guys. And it was truly touching how these players, who of course have no correlation to basketball, were paying their tribute, their respect to Kobe Bryant on Sunday. Neymar scored a penalty and he put up the 2-4, and then he pointed to the sky. It just shows the influence that Kobe Bryant had. Because if you think that Kobe Bryant was just a basketball player, my God, you are so wrong. Kobe Bryant was much more than that. Kobe Bryant was influential. I'd even go out on a limb and say that he was the first ever influencer in the history of humanity. Kobe Bryant was. Just an incredible man, a very fascinating man, a very passionate man. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, like he was such a great dad, and he was, because it doesn't belong to me to say that. He probably was, I'm sure he was, but it just I'm not the one to say that. I think his daughters at some point are going to be able to talk about that, or his oldest daughter, and I'm pretty sure his wife, who we should keep in our thoughts and our prayers, because if there's anyone that needs help right now, it's definitely her. She'll probably have a lot to say about Kobe once it's time for her to talk, and once she feels ready to talk. But the influence that Kobe had was incredible. He influenced soccer players, golfers, tennis players, boxers, mixed martial artists, football players, even in the Pro Bowl. Yes, well, I'm recording on Monday. Yesterday, the Pro Bowl. The guys that were playing were celebrating like Kobe. They were doing a 360 dunk. They were doing his signature jab, jab, shoot. And it's just incredible to see the influence that this man had. All because he was passionate about basketball. And to me, and to everyone watching, I'm pretty sure, sports are much more than just that. Just sports. I've met so many people thanks to sports. I've made so many friends thanks to sports and soccer in particular. I've had some fond memories. I've had some terrible losses because of sports. And I think this Sunday showed once again that sports are meant to unite us. Because even in this country that is so divided politically, like Colin Cowherd said, this made us unite. This made us become sports fans. Even for a split second. We had something that we can relate to with everyone. And that's who Kobe Bryant was. A person that united people, a person that was influential, an intelligent man, and a damn good basketball player. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Thank you for the memories. I'll never forget that 60-point game on April 13, 2016, because that's the day that we were celebrating my brother's 10th birthday. So that's something that'll be on my mind forever, and it means a little bit more now. It means just a little bit more. Thank you, Kobe, for the memories, and thank you all for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all next week.